person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thought. He loses touch with reality. A good servant, but a bad master, and lives in a world of illusion. And all so-called civilized people have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive.
Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
And let's talk horror.
So today we are doing our verses on Evil Dead 1981 versus 2013.
A well-known fact about me is Child's Play is my favorite horror franchise. A lesser-known fact about me is The Evil Dead is my second favorite horror franchise. So doing this episode is something we've been wanting to do for a long time. Mm-hmm. And with the upcoming release of Evil Dead Rise, what better time than now? So we are going to be talking about the original, things we like about that, the remake, things we like about that, and then we're going to verse them off against each other and decide which one we like the best. So let's get started with the original. So it may seem crazy now, but back in 1981 when The Evil Dead came out, this movie was banned in certain countries because of how gory it was and because of a certain scene in the movie that I think we all know. Mm-hmm. But before we talk about any of that, let's talk about some of the scenes from the original that were not a part of the remake that we really enjoy.
So let's talk about when she gets her hand possessed and she's drawing the book.
A little bit of foreshadowing right there. Uh-huh. Getting a good picture of the Necronomicon before we actually see the Necronomicon. So, a trope that was probably, if not invented by this movie, popularized by this movie, is when you have them all at the table and they're all acting goofy, and all of a sudden the cellar door blows open. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was an animal. An animal? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So that's a trope that I think was really popularized with The Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, for sure. How about we see an Hills Have Eyes poster in the bedroom?
This is something that Wes Craven and Sam Raimi decided to go back and forth. In this, you have the Hills Have Eyes poster. Mm-hmm. In A Nightmare on Elm Street, you had Nancy watching The Evil Dead. And then in Evil Dead 2, you have a Freddy Krueger glove in the cabin.
Which is really amazing for them all to, just kind of
pay
show
homage
to each other.
Yeah. So, such a great scene. One thing that is in this movie that I wish we would have gotten more of in Evil Dead is the Kandarian dagger. I love the Kandarian dagger. Mm-hmm. I think it's an amazing looking item. Oh yeah. Not only is it a sharp, big ass knife, but obviously when he pulls it out, you see the nasty looking face. This looks like your ex-girlfriend. Ha 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 ha. The bro laughter you get at that moment. So I'm a big fan of the Kandarian dagger. I wish we could have got some of that in the remake.
So something I wasn't the biggest fan of is the lightning that is in there when you see the lightning, but what does kind of make up for it is the moon when you see like the
when it
fog.
Starts to cover the moon.
Yeah,
it looks really, really good. Another scene that kind of shows you that things are really starting to turn south is this one.
4 of hearts, 8 of spades, 2 of spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs.
4 of diamonds, jack of clubs. Ah!
Yes.
That's when you really know she's possessed now. The bad thing has already happened to her, but now she's a deadite.
Yeah, and now that she's a deadite, she likes to stab pencils and heels. Oh my God, is that... Yeah, it's painful to watch.
It looks so good, though.
It really does.
Like, when you watch this, even now, at the time of filming, it's 2023, watching that and in her leg, it still looks great. Mm-hmm. I still love that. One thing about The Evil Dead that I've always thought was really cool, even now, is the mystery of the monster. You never see, all you see is, the camera shots and you get the POV shot. And I love the POV shot when it breaks in the window when she's in the bedroom and, you see Scotty out in the living room getting freaked out. But that's one scene that I really, really enjoy a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the spider web leg.
I gotta rub my leg.
Yeah, so it doesn't look that good. It like crawling, the infection taking over, kind of looks bad, but
it's still for the time. Yeah, I still love it.
Yeah, and I mean, they were in college when they filmed this, so you gotta give it up to them.
Right. Michigan State, by the way. Yeah, I love it. Now, one thing I want to talk about that we've never noticed this until our most recent watch. Mm-hmm. You got a crew member here in the background, and I'm going to circle him for you. I think that's amazing that they left him in. I think it's really cool that they decided, obviously they seen him. I never seen it. I'm going to be completely honest until we just rewatched it for this Versus. Obviously a movie I've seen 1,000 times, but obviously until Sledgehammer Horror, I never dissected movies the way that I do now. So to see this crew member in the background in the shot, it holds up for me. I love it. I love seeing it.
Yeah. How about this audio? So that always scares the shit out of me. You know, she's giggling and looks innocent, and yeah, it's so scary.
When someone's playing innocent, but they're really a deadite or a demon or a monster, that's always when it's the scariest to me. When you have that, you know, visual of innocence. And not just that, but obviously love.
Yeah.
You know, when you have Ash and Linda, two people that are in love, enough to buy them a magnifying glass necklace, because only the best boyfriends and husbands do that. And then, you know, obviously she turns into a deadite. He has to kill her. He buries her. She comes back. Like, there's just so many moments with these two. We've always said, like, I'm the Notebook, she is Saw. So, I mean, like, if this was our case, I'd be a deadite. Because if you're a deadite, I'm a deadite. There's no way I could take you out. So, this is a scene that always impacted me a lot, too.
For sure. How about the bleeding of the sockets and the light bulb? It looks so good.
These were done practically.
Yes.
And where there's some janky CGI, some janky stop motion throughout the movie, this is a scene that looks really good.
It does.
It holds up really, really well today with the bleeding sockets and the bleeding light bulb. And another scene like that that really holds up to me is when you have Bruce Campbell, Ash, looking at the mirror, and then he reaches out and touches it, and it's water. The way that they did this scene was they filled up a little pool and they filmed over top, and they shined so many lights so you could see the reflection. The lights were so bright that Bruce Campbell could barely open his eyes. But that was the level of commitment, even for a college course, like a college project, that they had that type of commitment to make this scene work. And it holds, this still, when it visually, one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I just got to give mad props to this scene, because it's seriously one of my favorite scenes, and not just this movie, but any movie. I think it looks really great. And that thought of being in that situation of, you know, touching a mirror and it's actually water, brilliant scene.
Very much. So I'm going to be the Debbie Downer and talk about something that doesn't look so great, and that is the when they're decaying, and it's like the stop motion. Looks very animated, clay-like. Doesn't look great. Did not stand the test of time.
Right. Obviously, you know, like I said, they were young.
They were young. They were in college. You know, you talked about it. It was a college project, and look what it has done.
The Evil Dead is one of the most underrated movies of all time. Obviously, as horror fans, we appreciate it. But in the grand scope of people that don't watch horror, they know they're Freddy Krueger, they're Chucky. Not a lot of people know The Evil Dead.
Right.
And it has done so much that right now in 2023, we're getting another sequel, Evil Dead Rise. So we're very, very excited about that. But before we could talk about that sequel, let's talk about the remake, Evil Dead, from 2013. So now we're going to talk about Evil Dead 2013. Now, before we do this, I want to say, I know it's been said, this is not a remake. It's a sequel. But in this vein, it's got the same name. A lot of the things are the same. So we are treating this as a remake. Again, I know in the world of Evil Dead, it's a sequel to the original film. But we are going to do this as if it was a remake of the original.
Okay, so let's talk about the scene where she's running through the woods and they put the bag over her head and knock her out. Awesome. Like, you feel like, you know, scared for her, like, what's going on with her? You know, the mystery.
She's the victim at this point.
She is, and you don't know what is about to unfold.
Right, and then you see her down in the basement and she's tied to that post, and then they take the, you know, the sack off her face, and her dad's right there. And she's like, "Daddy, take me home." And he's like, "It's okay, they're good people." And you're like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yes.
You know, and then he pours gasoline on her, and she's, you know, what the hell is happening? Why are you doing this to your daughter? And then this is why.
I will rip your soul out, Daddy. I'll rip your soul out, you pathetic fuck!
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. When we were in the theater watching this part happened, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that is so fucking awesome!"
I know, I loved it. I'll eat your soul.
Yes, like, and what I love about it is, you look at these people and they look like your typical The Hills Have Eyes type, you know, nasty, disgusting freaks.
Yeah, what are they doing to this girl?
Ones.
Yeah, like what are they doing to her? And you know, and she's the Deadite.
I love that subversion.
Yeah, it's awesome. Very, very smart for sure. So also what I think is smart is why they're there. You know, the little sister, she's on dope, and so she dumps her dope out. You know, she's done with it.
We need to say heroin, because there are people out there that think dope is marijuana. When we say dope, we mean heroin. I've never heard marijuana called dope in my entire life. So if you have, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be that guy, but whenever I've heard dope my whole life, it's always been heroin. Yeah. So she has a heroin addiction.
She has a heroin addiction, and that's why they're there, to get her clean, and so she dumps it out.
It's a very powerful scene. For anybody that's battled addiction, for anybody that's wanted to be clean, it's a hard scene to watch because you feel every moment of it. Now another scene as a big brother that you feel when you watch it for the first time.
She didn't just OD. Legally, your sister died. They had to defibrillate her.
So yeah, you know, she's died. Not only has she overdosed, bro, she has died.
Yeah.
And they had to bring her back.
What's sad is that he didn't even know.
Right.
You know, like, he's been gone. He kind of washed his hands of his family. And
because his mom had a sickness.
His mom had a sickness, yes. So
and you know, he even says it, Eric. He's like, they had to defibrillate her. And now, I hope that that's not a foreshadow. I hope she never has to get defibrillated again. But let's keep on trucking away and see what happens.
Let's see. So when she's driving away, you know, she's got to get out of there. There's something in the woods. And she sees, like, the monster. Like, it's like her. It's like her as a monster, and she swerves into, like, a
swamp.
Yeah,
it's
swamp.
like a swamp.
That's
there
what
you go.
it is.
This is my swamp. Because that thing is also in the swamp.
Yeah,
you know?
and that thing is scary as hell.
Yes. Now, obviously, if you want to kill people, it is what it is. But
don't kill animals.
Don't kill Grandpa the dog. I wish we could get more on what happened to Grandpa. Obviously, we got him pulling Grandpa up, and his imagination.
What he thinks it happens, but we don't really know.
We don't know if, in his mind, he sees the bloody hammer, and he thinks that Mia beat it with the hammer so she could get out of there. I don't know, man. I don't think that she would have gone that far, because she wasn't possessed at that point.
Right.
So I don't think that she would have beaten Grandpa with a hammer,
So, I mean, he's pissed at this point, you know, going in, and Mia's in the shower. And
pounding on the door.
He can't get in, and she's just burning. And then the heater for the shower starts on fire, and she falls down, and it just starts blistering. It looks so good, and it's so effective.
Yeah, and if you notice at this part in the book, there is a page where you have a woman dumping
that
boiling water on herself. Yeah. So you have that type of premonition as well. And, you know, obviously they put her down, they give her a sedative, but little do they know, here she comes, and she's got that shotgun, and she's doing the twitches. You know, David, put the fucking gun down, boom, and she shoots her brother.
I know.
Grazes him in the shoulder, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then right after that, she gives this iconic line.
You are all going to die tonight.
Which, another one that's so creepy. You're all gonna die tonight, and just the way, like, it sounds like that demonic voice. So effective.
The delivery of it's fantastic. And in the background, you got these little samples from the original. Dead by Dawn. Like, very quietly through the rumbling, which I think is brilliant as well. Fede Alvarez did a great job paying homage to the Evil Dead in Evil Dead. And right after this, you know, her friend goes into the bathroom, and she shuts the mirror, opens it up, and she gets the drugs out, and the mirror closes, and she looks up and sees her face all fucked up, and the book at this point goes open to a page of someone cutting their face.
So, I mean, what else is she gonna do besides cut her face, you know? And you can hear her, like, just sawing at her face, and it's so, just the sounds. And then when you see what she's done to herself, oh my goodness.
Our boy Lou Taylor Pucci.
Yeah, he walks in on it like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I mean,
why would you do that?
That would be anybody's response to that.
So obviously she's possessed at this point, and in one of the grossest, in my opinion, parts of the whole movie, she takes that hypodermic needle and just starts stabbing him in the face with it.
Yes.
And it, you know, he gets her off and it breaks, and he pulls the needle.
It's so hard to watch. That's so hard to watch.
And I'm not trying to toot our own horn here, but we were able to have an interview with Lou Taylor Pucci, who plays Eric in this film.
He's such a cutie.
And he's such a great guy. And at this point, it was literally just almost a magic trick. the way that he did it. Like, he had it in his fingers, and rather than pulling it out, he's pulling his hand across the needle to make it look like he's pulling it out.
And it looks so good, so real.
Yeah, there's no CGI done here. It's all practically done, and it was all Lou Taylor Pucci that did it. He did it all himself with the pulling of the needle. Like, he did a great job on it, and when we did the interview, it was really cool to hear his side of how that all happened.
For sure. So another thing that grossed me out is when Mia's in the basement and she takes that knife and she licks it and slits her tongue in half, and she's just bleeding out of her mouth. So gory, so awesome. Love it.
Yeah, that's one that it's hard for me to watch.
I love it.
Tongues and eyeballs are the two things you're going to get me out pretty quickly.
For sure.
Now, I talked about Lou Taylor Pucci a second, and I want to give you another story about this scene right here.
Why does my face hurt?
So that wasn't in the script, him busting out laughing there. She was saying why does my face hurt? My face hurts. And they had been filming for a couple days at this point. It was cold. It was miserable. And he just started laughing. And Fede Alvarez fell in love with it. He's like, listen, I want you to do that again, but crank it up.
Yeah.
I want it to be like you've just gone insane. And I think
he nails that.
Yeah, that's really a point in the movie where you're like, oh my gosh, he's losing a lot of blood.
Lost it.
And yeah, now he's losing his mind because he knows he's going to die. And, getting those behind the scenes things are something that has always been cool for Ashley and I. We love behind the scenes. We love making ofs. We love commentary. So to get some of his behind the scenes stories was really, really cool. And you have another story you'd like to tell about some behind the scenes stuff.
Talking about behind the scenes, when they bury Mia alive, they really bury her alive in the movie. And so this was really like high tension for everybody on set because they're burying this person alive. And, there's so many things that could go wrong. And that is scary, but that is dedication.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of those things where as an actor, her brother, that he's freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
They got this time. Once it's done, you got to do it. We got to get this take. We got to get it good. You don't want to keep burying Jane Levy over and over again and testing what could be potentially a life or death situation.
Yeah.
So, very, very hectic, very anxious. So very cool. It looks good, but very scary to be on set that day, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to fast forward again to 5 minutes ago, Ken, he was an idiot because current Ken's going to tell you she did get defibrillated again, but she did it with a car battery. I know, stop. So he takes the needles, shoves it in her chest, and he's using the car battery to shock her back to life, which works. According to my wife, this would never, ever work, but it did work in the movie, and that's all that matters.
Sure. Another thing that I love is the blood rain, and when the abomination arises, I just love how it looks, how, like she's looking up and all the blood is falling on her face. It looks so good.
And the abomination coming back.
Yes.
And it's such a scary, scary moment.
It is.
But and all that amount, it's all real. Like
That's
that is
a
all
lot of
practical,
blood.
all real
Didn't
blood.
they have like a warehouse full of blood?
Yes,
like,
and that's insane to me.
That is insane.
And for those of you that don't know, a little Evil Dead Rise trivia here real quick. They built an industrial-sized kitchen to make all the blood for the upcoming Evil Dead Rise. So we are going to have a bloodbath in that as well. So we talked about things from The Evil Dead that we love.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about things from Evil Dead that we love. Now let's face these off against each other and decide which one we like the most. So now, guys, we are going to be versing these two movies off against each other. They are so different that it was kind of hard for us to find so many things that they had in common, but we were able to get a couple for you. So first off, we talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about their reason for being at the cabin. Now, in the original, you have a bunch of friends that want to go party, get fucked up in the woods. In the remake, you have them trying to get their sister off dope. They're taking her out there so she's away from civilization, she's away from her dealers, she's away from the phone. We're going to get her clean and make sure that she doesn't die. So of those two, which one is your favorite?
I have to go with the remake on this one because the reasoning is smart. They're not just going out there and partying. They can leave at any time. They're going to stick it out. Like, we're not leaving until you're clean, until we know that you can go back home and you can be, drug-free.
Yeah. And I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with the remake on this one. As someone that's battled addiction, you watch these scenes and you see the people around that love her so much. And they even say, we're not going anywhere. And then she gets pissed and she does, the deflection like an addict does. The way they play off addiction in this movie is very, very good.
It is.
And if you or anybody you know is battling addiction, please reach out to somebody. You can get help. I promise. It's a very real thing. I think that's why the remake hit so close to home for the both of us. So let's talk about the hardest one for me. And that is the group of kids. So in the original, you have your group of teenagers. In the remake, you have your group of teenagers. Which group is your favorite?
Okay, so this one is really hard. I agree, because they're both so great in different ways. But I have to go with my OG cast just because, it's got Bruce Campbell. Like, I just feel like he is so amazing. And even in the first one, he was, not quite there yet with his acting.
He definitely wasn't Ash Williams.
He wasn't Ash Williams yet. But we do get there, and I have to go with him and that cast.
If we were going by just the leads, and this is no disrespect to Jane Levy, I would absolutely go with Bruce Campbell's Ash just because he's meant so much to me throughout my life. Give me some sugar, baby. But for this, if we're going the whole cast, I got to go with the remake. Jane Levy was great. Lou Taylor Pucci is amazing. And he was one of the selling points for me to go watch this remake. Because when this came out, I was still in that cynical, they're remaking a classic. It's Hollywood cash grab. I was being a cynical little dick. But Lou Taylor Pucci sold me because I loved him in Chum Scrubber, Thumbsucker. I loved him in these other movies, and he was really the selling point for me. And going into this, like when we first started watching it, I was like, oh, he's going to be the Ash Williams character. He's going to be the final guy in this movie. He's the smart one that wants to read the book. And kind of like if you go back and watch The Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell's Ash Williams is not the Ash Williams of Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the TV show.
He's kind of a wuss in the first one,
He is.
like afraid to shoot, and
He definitely is. So this is one of those ones where when it comes to the whole group, I'm going with the remake just strictly because we're looking at him as a whole, not just the main character.
I get it.
In the original, we have our buddy Bruce giving his girl a magnifying glass necklace. And in the remake, we have the brother giving the sister the magnifying glass necklace, and it's made out of the tree that causes good vibes. And, it is cute. You know, she does I thought you didn't believe in that stuff. And he's like,
no, but you do.
You do. And, big brothers are supposed to do that for their kid sisters, and any loving big brother would. But which of the two did you like the most?
I have to go with the original on that one, just because.
Is it because of the delivery of it?
Yeah. It's so funny how she sees that box in his hand and he's sleeping. And then it goes to her eyes and then his eyes. And I just love that whole shot. Yeah, it's so amazing.
It is really, really good. And I'm also going with the original. As much as I love the brother-sister bond, I love the brother-sister connection and the love they have there and how much he's willing to, how far he's willing to go to save his baby sister. I love the setup of this one when he has the box in his hand and he's acting like he's asleep. Pretty much everything you just said. Like, I love that whole setup. I think it's great. So I'm gonna go with the original on this one. Now discovering the Deadites, bringing them back. In the OG, you have them listening to Professor Noby on the tape, and you have Cheryl getting scared and Scotty being a douche. Oh, it's just I want to hear the rest of it.
Turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off like that.
Yeah.
Or in the remake, you have Lou Taylor Pucci's Eric. He cuts it open. He uses the paper and the chalk.
Yeah.
To kata, varatu, kanda. And that brings back the Deadites. Don't say that. I know. So which one of those was your favorite?
I have to go with the original on this one, just because I love how the group of them are listening to it together. And they don't really know what they're getting themselves into. Whereas in the remake, it's like he's like, well, I'm just gonna read these words in this freaking devil book,
I'm gonna disagree with you. Actually, I'm gonna go with the remake on this one. Now, if we were talking about Evil Dead 2, which is almost a remake of the original as well. And you got more backstory on Professor Noby and Henrietta and all them, I would go with that one. But I love in this one, we find out early on that Eric is an English teacher. So, obviously he's an educated guy. And so he's curious, that curiosity of education is getting the better of him. So that's why he's going to the book and he's reading it. Obviously, it got the better of him.
Probably shouldn't be reading demon books if you're educated.
So, I'm going to the remake just strictly because I feel like it wraps up in this story better. Like I said, if it was in the OG and we got more Professor Noby and Henrietta, it would have made more sense to me. But just them finding it and going off on that. Now, the kills throughout these two movies are awesome. Like in the OG, you got, Scotty chopping up his girlfriend with the axe, which I always great when you have someone getting completely cut to bits with an axe. You can't go wrong there. Or, the scene with Linda where she's jumping at Ash and he has the shovel and he decapitates her. Awesome kills. And they look great still to this day. A little wonky at parts. And then in the remake, you got like Lou Taylor Pucci, smashing her head in with that porcelain piece of the sink.
And they walk in and they're like, what the fuck happened?
It wasn't her anymore. I love this moment.
Yeah.
Or you also have like the gas can, when he shoots the gas can and it blows up the house. And even the abomination, one of the bloodiest, when she's got the chainsaw, I'll swallow your soul, swallow this, bitch. Like that moment. So of the two movies, which kills did you prefer?
I have to go with the remake. I feel like it's much more gory and bloody, and I'm here for it. So, remake for me.
Yeah. And I do agree. I'm going to go with the remake. But I do want a caveat here. The OG has a lot of blood. It
does.
And it's not just the blood, but it's like the white pussy stuff and the green. Like, they went for gross out in the OG, and boy, did they perfect it. But I'm going to go with the remake. I just think it was a little more, modernized, and it looks a little bit better at this time now, obviously. Before we talk about this next one.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Well, not spoiler.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning is what I should
Big say. Trigger warning here. I'm not going to show the scene, but we're going to talk about the tree attack. For anybody that is sensitive to sexual assault, you should probably fast forward a minute or shut the video off at this point because we're going to talk about some sexual assault here. You have the tree scene. In the OG, the tree does its thing with Cheryl, and that's where, she becomes the first deadite. In this one, it's not much better because you have the reflection of Mia puking out that vine after she's been tangled up, and it crawls up her leg and does the same thing. So neither one of these is pleasant.
No.
But in the grand scheme, which one was scarier for you?
I feel like the remake, they did it better. Like you don't see it, you do, but you don't at the same time. Like, and it's more scary because it like came out of her mouth and infected her. Yeah, and slid up into her, Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go with you on this one. I'm going to say the remake. And I feel like because it's not sexualized. The OG one.
Yeah, she's not like moaning.
Yeah.
And,
the OG one was very sexualized.
Yeah, and she's not getting her, her.
Yeah, you don't have her breast. Yeah, her breast falling out. And it's not a sexualized moment in the remake. It's more of a infectious moment. And I'm not saying it's okay.
No.
For the love of God, that's not what I'm saying. But in the remake, it's less sexualized. So that's why I'm going with the remake on this one. Let's brighten it up a little bit here. Let's talk about why they can't escape. So obviously in the remake, Cheryl, she's trying to run away, and you see the bridge is out. It almost looks like a hand, like it's been torn apart. And in the remake, you have, David driving her, and it's all flooded out. And he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And you got, the water over the road, and it's just, there's no way they can escape it. So which one was your favorite of those two?
The original with the bridge being out. First of all, I probably wouldn't have drove over that bridge to begin with. Like that would have had me like, I'll just walk. Like you guys drive, I'll walk across. But I just feel like obviously that bridge was going to go out at any point.
It almost does when they're driving on it. Exactly. I mean, the tire falls through it.
Exactly.
I'm also going to the original just because I love the way that bridge looks.
Yeah.
Like when we're watching the movies, and obviously we watched them back to back, we marathoned them. I get more anxiety from the water one. Like that looks scarier to me.
Yeah.
But it looks way more badass when you have a whole bridge ripped in half. The water, if you're that scared, swim across. I mean, it's fast-moving water.
Do you see how fast that water is?
I'll give it to you. It's fast-moving water.
You're going with the current by, like...
You're not getting over the bridge no matter what.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no way you're getting over the bridge. And obviously, they can't take Mia across because she's been burned.
Right.
So, I mean, either way is scary.
And
now you're trapped. Yeah, you're trapped at this point. But one thing real quick. I love how David gets out and he walks up and he turns around and Mia smiles.
Yeah.
In the car. Like, oh!
I know.
Those
I love
little
that
moments
too. Yes.
are so damn cool. Now, the book, obviously, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which it is not called in the original. I can't remember. It's the Necrom something. But the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, roughly translated, the Book of the Dead. You can stay down there. In the original, that's kind of how we get rid of our deadites. Ash throws it in the fire. The deadites start burning, and then they start melting away into our sweet nothings that you love so much.
Yeah.
And then in the remake, you have Eric trying to burn the book. And he says, he's like, I don't know why I tried this. But it won't burn. And he's heartbroken. He's scared. He's terrified. The book will not burn. He has it in a pan, and he's trying to burn it. Which of the two did you like more?
I feel like in the remake where it won't burn, it's more effective. Like, this is the devil's book. Like, you're not going to just be able to burn this to get rid of this. Like, this is your problem.
Well, it's bound in flesh and inked in human blood.
Right.
So I'm going to go with you on this one. I love the remake. A lot of this, guys, I got to admit, it's because I have such a soft spot for Lou Taylor Pucci, not just as an actor, but as a human being. I just feel like in this movie, he steals every scene he's in. He's got that heartbroken look on his face. And he's like, it won't burn. It's so good. So I'm going to go with the remake on this one as well. Now, one scene where I laugh at one of them and I want to literally kill myself with the other is when we have our first deadite get thrown into the cellar. Now, in the OG, it's, Cheryl and Scotty punts her, hits her with it, and she falls down and they shut the cellar door, which it's just comical to me. It looks fucking hilarious when they do it.
But at the same point, it's like, I probably would have done the same thing.
Right.
Lock her ass down there.
What is not funny is getting puked on in your face with blood. That's what Mia does in this scene until...
And it's not just a little bit of blood.
Oh my gosh, it's so much blood getting puked
so
on your
much
face.
Blood.
Yeah. Well, then she, spins, throws her, she falls down in the cellar, and Eric comes and shuts the cellar door and bolts it shut. So, which one was more effective for you?
The remake. I mean, all that blood, and you're like screaming and you're ingesting it, and it's just so disgusting, and then she flips her over into the cellar. Yeah, and they're like, oh, fuck that. Lock her down there.
Yeah. I obviously, I love the original.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. It's almost like one of those little clown punching bags we had when we were kids that you would hit. And that's what it looks like when he's hitting it. But the remake is just so effective for me because of the puking blood and how scary that moment is. So I am also going to go with the remake on this one. Let's watch a couple videos here real quick. So we got this clip right here. That looked pretty good. Now let's check out this one right here.
Oh my God, what happened to her eyes?
Okay, now of the two, what happened to her eyes? Which one is your favorite?
The original. Oh my gosh. It's so much more effective. Like, she's like freaked out, like her eyes, Yeah, the original.
I am also going to say the original, and I think that in the second one, we get this as fan service.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just there's no emotion to it.
Yeah.
Only fans of the OG will pick that one up. Just like there's a point with Eric when he's like, fine. I don't know if you've noticed, but nothing's fine. That's a total callback to Evil Dead 2 when Ash comes through the mirror and he's like, we just chopped up our girlfriend. So I do love the callbacks they have, but I just feel like the what happened to her eyes was much more effective in the OG. Now, we're going to talk about the endings of the film. Now, in the original, you have what I think is beautiful. What an amazing, fast, long shot that starts outside, breaks through the cabin door, goes all the way through the cabin, comes out the front of the cabin door, right up into Ash's face, into the dissolve. Now, this had to be done perfectly.
Right.
You have all these different people, all these different moving parts because it's going so fast, opening doors to make sure that the camera is going through everything had to go smooth because it's all one big long shot.
I wonder
Great
how many times
shot.
they had to redo that. Like, damn it, Jerry, you didn't open the door.
Jerry, I ran into the door again. Or in the remake, you have the I don't want to say happy ending. Everybody's dead. Her hand has been ripped off. But she's okay, and she's literally walking off into the sunset. So good for Mia. But which of the two do you like more?
We don't need no happy ending. I have to go with the OG. It just looks so awesome, like you said. It's such a beautiful shot. So yeah, the OG for sure.
I'm gonna agree with you 100%. I love the OG. It's just an amazing shot that, like you said, it had to have taken a long time because it's an unbroken shot. It's going fast. This is a fast-moving shot.
So everybody's got to be, on their game.
You have to be a well-oiled machine to have this shot go the way that it ended up looking. It looks fantastic, and these are college students doing this. So yeah, 100%. So one thing I do want to say though, if you guys haven't seen it, we do have the alternate ending to Evil Dead. I don't know why I looked back. The bitch is on the floor. To Evil Dead in the description, so you can see what happens after her brother shot that gas can inside the house, and you can see what happened to Mia once she made it back to the road. So I love the alternate ending. I wish they would have kept at least the part with her brother, with David. I wish they would have kept that in so we could have seen what happened to David, because we never really get that closure.
Right.
He's dying. We know he's dying. He's been stabbed in the neck. It's, disgusting. It's sad, but what happened to him at this point? So make sure you're checking that alternate ending out. It's down in the description. So we're done here now.
We are done. So let's talk about points here.
For those of you that have been keeping track at home.
Yes. So I have 6 for the original and 5 for the remake. So points never matter. With this is really hard for me, to be honest. But I think that I'm going to have to go with the remake. I love how they modernize it, so much gore. The OG does too, but this one has so much gore, so much good kills. Jane Levy, she is such a phenomenal actress. Like, you feel like she's really on dope. Feel her pain. You
feel her withdrawals.
You do. You feel all of her feelings. Like you said, Lou Taylor Pucci, he's amazing. And he honestly is a highlight of the movie as well. And there's just so much good about it. Not that there isn't about the original. That's iconic and has done so much for horror genre. But yeah, I have to go with the remake on this one.
All right. So for those of you that have been keeping track of score for me, I have 4 points for the original and 7 points for the remake. Now, I am going to give a hot take here. The Evil Dead 1981 is a fantastic movie. It's a fucking amazing movie. It is also, to date, my least favorite in this franchise. So obviously I'm going with the remake here, which is my second favorite of the franchise. The Evil Dead started something that is still going in horror today. And I think that it's a fantastic movie. And by me saying it's my least favorite of this franchise, The Evil Dead is still better than any movie. And I'm, again, hot take. The Evil Dead is better than any movie in the Friday the 13th franchise, in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and in the Halloween franchise.
I know you're going to say that.
And I love Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. They are both so good. I like Halloween. Okay, I do. I like that franchise, but The Evil Dead, even though it's my least favorite in this franchise, I feel like it's better than any movie in any of those franchises. I don't know, hot take.
Honestly, if Evil Dead, The Evil Dead is your worst movie, like, you're still doing something really good.
And these were college guys.
Right.
And gals that made this movie. So I am going to go with the remake. I just think that this is the best remake, in my opinion. It's right up there with The Fly and The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
For being like the absolute best remake of all time. Fede Alvarez showed a lot of love.
Yes.
Obviously, like Bruce Campbell was a producer on this movie. Sam Raimi was a producer on this movie. So they had their says in the film too. And Evil Dead is a franchise to me. Obviously, at the time of recording, we haven't seen Evil Dead Rise. So I can't speak to that yet. But what I can speak to is when it comes to consistency, you have, for me personally, Child's Play, Scream, and Evil Dead as the most consistently great franchises with no misses in their movies. Even the worst movies in the Evil Dead franchise and the Scream franchise and the Child's Play franchise are awesome. They may be the worst of that franchise, but they're awesome.
They're still good.
Yeah. If I had to choose between a steak, hamburger, and a taco, and I said my least favorite's a hamburger, I'm still going to eat a damn hamburger if it's there. I still love it. So, let us know down in the description, guys, or in the comments, I'm sorry, which one do you like more, The Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2013? And what is your favorite in the Evil Dead franchise? And if you guys haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on social media so you can stay up to date with everything we have going on in the future. But until next time, I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
Keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Groovy.